You're here with Byron, and this is my show, Off the Wall. Tonight I'm exploring some songs with differing points of view. Let's keep going with this one.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop. Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stopped. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and carrying signs, mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away. We better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop now. What's that sound? Everybody look what's going. We better stop. Children, what's that sound?
Ammon Hennessy, besides wanting me to become a pacifist, wanted me to learn how to become an anarchist. It was a word, like most people, I was afraid of because it always meant violence and chaos. It never occurred to me that the capitalist system is violence and chaos decade after decade. It certainly is today. I didn't know what he meant, though. Ammon, besides having to deal with my capacity for violence when I first hit the Joey Hill house there in Salt Lake City, you had to deal with a lot of violence in that house. A lot of Second World War vets that had come back, broken people, a lot of them alcoholics. There was always stuff getting broken up and people getting broken up. And Ammon dealt with it in very, very creative and very compassionate ways. Ammon said, since I didn't know if I could still live in the country anymore, he said, you know you love the country. You love the country. You go in and out of town, and you come back with these wonderful songs about people and places. You know you love the country. He quoted Mark Twain, "A loyalty to the country always, loyalty to the government when it deserves it." Yeah, I do love the country very, very much. He said, "What you don't love the state. You know, you love the country, but you can't stand the state. Now get it straight." You know, it was an essential distinction that I had been neglecting. Well then, having established that firmly in my mind, he said, well, he got me onto the notion that anarchy isn't a noun but an adjective that defines the tension between moral autonomy and political authority, especially in the area of combinations, whether they're going to be voluntary or coercive. Most of us are born into highly coercive combinations, marital combinations, boss-employee, student-teacher, parent-child. These are combinations which we inherit. They're culturally compelled. We are not the architects of these combinations. We don't have any choice in them. He said all we ever wanted to do is to be be centered enough in ourselves that we could come together and create voluntary combinations, non-coercive combinations of which we are the architects, which define our needs as we see them and not as they're defined for us. Well, yeah, he said, if you and I can agree that we will both do our share of the work of the world, that's the work around the Joey Hill House, if you and I can agree that we will only take what we need and put back what we can, if you and I can agree that we'll care for the afflicted, and mostly if you and I can agree that we won't hurt anybody, all the things you can't get from the boss and from the state, then we can begin to build between us that voluntary combination and get the work of the world done without the boss and without the state. Well, I've said that to so many young people, especially lately, who get this idea that anarchy is some kind of nihilism. Oh, you can't tell me what to do. No, anarchy, you've got to tell yourself what to do, because you've got to learn to become your own best government, and believe me, you can do it better and cheaper than they can. What I tell my young friends is, your job in the world is to find out what your real work is. Your real work. Work's what you do for yourself. Toil's what you do for somebody else. And that work is what's going to satisfy your soul. That work is what animates you, which permits you to live in the exercise of your own unique and specific virtue. Now, you're going to take a lot of dumb jobs. You're going to take a lot of jobs that you don't like, or jobs that take you nowhere. You're going to pay maybe a dumb wage. You could have a good boss or a bad boss, but the boss is the boss, and you can't laugh off that curse. But if you do that toil, you're going to take part of the money and part of the time and use it to acquire tools and skills that enable you to do your work. And when you've got that, someday you're going to pick up the phone and call in well. And you're going to start to do your work, put your work in the world. And if there's something you find out you can't do by yourself, you find other people who are like-minded, who want to do the same sort of thing. And you come together and you make that voluntary combination. I always wanted to write that old man a song, not about him. He was vain. I wouldn't give him the satisfaction, but something mulched up out of his thought as an anarchist.
That work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of in the name of. Now you do what they told you. 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 And 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 now you do what they told you. Now you do what they told ya. Now you do what they told ya. Those who died are justified for wearing the badge and your chosen white. You're justified. Those that died for wearing the badge and your chosen white. Those who died are justified for wearing the badge and your chosen white. You're justified. Those who died those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Some of those that work forces are the same that burn crosses. Killing in the name of. Killing in the name of. Now you do what they told you. And 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 now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Now you're under control. And now you do what they told you. Those who died are justified. But wearing the badge, they get chosen white. You're justified. Those that died, but wearing the badge, they get chosen white. Those who died are justified. But wearing the badge, they get chosen white. You're justified. Those that died, but wearing the badge, they get chosen white. Come on.
Okay, this last set started with Get Together by the Youngbloods, For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield, I Will Not Obey by Utah Phillips. That was a rap that I thought was worth a listen. And Killing in the Name Of by Rage Against the Machine. I shortened this song. Those of you who are familiar with it will know why. So I'll just mention, this is my name. This is Byron. I know my name. Yeah, it's Byron, and you are listening to my show Off the Wall. This next song offers a good example of what I was talking about in my opening rap about being able to hold several different perspectives at the same time. Actively supporting the men and women fighting in Vietnam while clearly not supporting the war itself. It's called Singing in Vietnam Talking Blues by Johnny Cash.
One morning at breakfast, I said to my wife, we've been everywhere once and some places twice. As I had another helping of country ham, she said, we ain't never been to Vietnam. There's a bunch of our boys over there. So we went to the Orient, Saigon. Well, we got a big welcome when we drove in to the gates of a place that they call Long Ben. We checked in and everything got kind of quiet, but a soldier boy said, just wait till tonight, things get noisy. Things start happening, big bad firecrackers. Well, that night we did about 4 shows for the boys, and they were living it up with a whole lot of noise. We did our last song for the night, and we crawled into bed for some peace and quiet, but things weren't peaceful. And things weren't quiet. Things were scary. Well, for a few minutes, June never said one word, and I thought at first that she hadn't heard. Then a shell exploded not 2 miles away. She sat up in bed, and I heard her say, what was that? I said, that was a shell or a bomb. She said, I'm scared. I said, me too. Well, all night long, that noise kept on, and the sound would chill you right to the bone. The bullets and the bombs and the mortar shells shook our bed every time one fell, and it never let up. It was gonna get worse before it got any better. Well, when the sun came up, the noise died down. We got a few minutes sleep, and we were sleeping sound. Then a soldier knocked on our door and said, last night they brought in 7 dead and 14 wounded. And would we come down to the base hospital and see the boys? Yeah. So we went to the hospital ward by day, and every night we were singing away. Then the shells and the bombs till dawn again, and the helicopters brought in the wounded men night after night. day after day, coming and a-going. So we sadly sang for them our last song, and reluctantly we said so long. We did our best to let them know that we care for every last one of them that's over there. Whether we belong over there or not, somebody over here loves them and needs them. Well, now that's about all that there is to tell about that little trip into living hell. And if I ever go back over there anymore, hope there's none of our boys there for me to sing for. I hope that war's over with and they all come back home to stay in peace.
trước đi trước, hai chân sau đi sau, thế còn cái đuôi là đi sau. Tôi xin kể nốt cái chuyện con voi, cái voi đi sau, hai chân sau thì lại đi trước, mà hai chân trước đi sau, thế còn cái đuôi là đi không biết đi đằng nào. Thân đạp thân tì mà hề hồ ha lên cao voi tớ lên đây rồi voi ơi voi gầm lên voi thét lên hàn sát chúng nó ra, voi ơi voi gầm lên voi thét lên hàn sát chúng nó ra, hàn sát chúng nó ra. Voi này voi này voi này voi
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 2. Cowboys and outlaws and right guys and southpaws, good dogs and all kinds of cats, dirt roads and white lines and all kinds of stop signs, but I'll stand right here where I'm at, 'cause I wear my own kind of hat. There's two kind of lovers and two kind of brothers and two kind of babies to hold. There's two kind of cherries and two kind of fairies and two kind of mothers, I'm told and told. Hey, but cowboys and outlaws and right guys and southpaws, good dogs and all kinds of cats, dirt roads and white lines and all kinds of stop signs, but I'll stand right here where I'm at, 'cause I wear my own kind of hat. There's two kind of brothers and two kind of lovers and two kind of babies to hold. There's two kind of cherries and two kind of fairies and two kind of mothers, I'm told. Hey, but cowboys and outlaws and right guys and southpaws, good dogs and all kinds of cats, dirt roads and white lines and all kinds of stop signs, but I'll stand right here where I'm at, 'cause I wear my own kind of hat.
Well, that last set started out with Singing in Vietnam, Talking Blues by Johnny Cash. The Time Has Come Today by the Chambers Brothers. And what the heck was that, you might say? Well, that was Convoy, the Elephant, by the Vietnamese Song and Dance Ensemble. The word convoy, which is kind of ironic since it has a military meaning in English, translates from Vietnamese to English, if I got this right, as memory. So the song is about elephants. You might have heard that lumbering in that tune. And My Own Kind of Hat by Rosie Flores. Well, this is Byron, and this is my show Off the Wall. It's now 8:05, running a little past tonight. Well, I have one more here. It's called Waist Deep in the Big Muddy by Pete Seeger. I ran across this interview Amy Goodman did with Pete Seeger, and it gives a pretty good explanation of the song as well as a pretty inspiring talk by Pete. You know, hope is where you can find it, and here is a glimmer of hope, at least for me, offered by Pete. Oh, and about the quality of the recording. This is live off the Smothers Brothers show, and there's a buzz that comes and goes. I decided to go with the original one. The buzz in the background reminds me of the energy and intensity of the times, and how much time and energy it took to get that simple song on the air. It's easy to forget, with all the access we have to information today, how different it was almost 50 years ago. Anyway, here it is, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, 1968.
And as we turn again back to my 2004 interview with Pete Seeger, I asked him about Waist Deep in the Big Muddy and how he made his anti-Vietnam War stance clear back in '67 when he was on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour.
Well, the Smothers Brothers were a big, big success on the CBS television, and way back the year before, I think in the spring of 67, they said, CBS says, anything we can do for you, you're right at the top. What can we do to make you happier? And they said, let us have Seeger on. And CBS said, well, we'll think about it. Finally, in October, they said, okay, you can have him on. And I sang this song, Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, the big fool says to push on. The tape was made in California, flown to New York, and in New York they scissored the song out. And now the Smothers Brothers took to the print media and said, CBS is censoring our best jokes, they censored Seeger's best song, and they got some publicity. And during November, December, January, the arguments went on. Finally in February, late January of '68, CBS said, okay, he can sing the song. On 6 hours' notice, I flew out to California. I remember singing a batch of songs from American history, songs from the Revolution. Why come ye hither, redcoats, you mind what madness fills? In our forest there's danger in our hills, for the rifles, the rifles in our hands shall prove no trifle. I think I mentioned the hit song of 1814. It was the hit song. Oh, say, can you see? And the song of the Mexican War, green grow the lilacs, all sparkling with dew, a love song. That's why Yankees are called gringos in Mexico, from that song. And, of course, the Civil War, several good songs, not just Battle Hymn of the Republic, but a batch of them. But along come modern times, I sang Waist Deep in the Big Muddy, and this time only a station in Detroit cut it out. But the rest of the country heard it, so 7 million people heard it. Who knows? Later that month, in late February, Lyndon Johnson decided not to run for re-election. The song would be probably just one more thing. I honestly believe that the future is going to be millions of little things saving us. I imagine a big seesaw. And at one end of this seesaw is on the ground with a basket half full of big rocks in The other end of the seesaw is up in the air. It's got a basket 1/4 full of sand. And some of us got teaspoons and we're trying to fill up sand. A lot of people are laughing at us. They say, oh, people like you have been trying to do that for thousands of years, and it's leaking out as fast as you're putting it in. But we're saying we're getting more people with teaspoons all the time. And we think one of these years you'll see that whole seesaw go zoo in the other direction. And people say, gee, how did it happen so suddenly? Us and all our little teaspoons. Now, Grant, we got to keep putting it in, because we don't keep putting teaspoons in, it will leak out, and the rocks will go back again. Who knows?
Pete Seeger. If you'd like a copy of today's show, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. But we're continuing with this tribute to Pete Seeger, who turned 90 years old on May 3rd, on Sunday. This is Pete Seeger singing Waist Deep in the Big Muddy on the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour in 1968.
It was back in 1942, I was a member of a good platoon. We were on maneuvers in Louisiana one night by the light of the moon. The captain told us to ford a river, that's how it all begun. We were knee-deep in the big muddy, the big fool said to push on. Well, the sergeant said, sir, are you sure this is the best way back to the base? Sergeant, go on, I've forded this river about a mile above this place. It'll be a little soggy, but just keep slogging, we'll soon be on dry ground. We were waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool said to push on. Sergeant said, sir, with all this equipment, no man will be able to swim. Sergeant, don't be nervous, Nellie, the captain said to him. All we need is a little determination. Men, follow me, I'll lead on. We were neck deep in the big muddy, the big fool said to push on. All at once the moon clouded over, we heard a gurgling cry. A few seconds later, the captain's helmet was all that floated by. The sergeant said, turn around, men, I'm in charge from now on. And we just made it out of the big muddy with the captain dead and gone. We stripped and dived and found his body stuck in the old quicksand. I guess he didn't know that the water was deeper than the place he'd once before been. Another stream had joined the big muddy about a half mile from where he'd gone. We were lucky to escape from the big muddy when the big fool said to push on. Well, I'm not going to plant any moral, I'll leave that for yourself. Maybe you're still walking, you're still talking, you'd like to keep your health. But every time I read the paper, them old feelings come on. We're waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool says to push on. Waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool says to push on. Waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool says to push on. Waist deep, neck deep, soon even a tall man will be over his head. We're waist deep in the big muddy, the big fool says to push on.
That was Waist Deep in the Big Muddy by Pete Seeger. Well, that about wraps up this edition of Off the Wall. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure enjoyed putting it together for you. Keb Mo is going to take us out with his version of America the Beautiful. As always, it's been my pleasure to be here. I will see you the week after next at the same time and place, Monday, 7 to 8 p.m. Until then, stay well, be kind, and take your time. As Don says, we are all in this together. Have a happy and safe 4th of July. You are on the route, KTRT 97.5, Winthrop.
for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for heroes prove in liberating strife, who more than self their country love, mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, and may all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. America, America, God shed His grace on me and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea, from sea to shining sea.
You've been listening to Voices of the Methow, an off-the-wall production. Until next time, thanks for listening.